Today we're comparing cheese, but how different can cheese really be?
Yeah, totally.
What the
In the US, the most popular cheese is mozzarella. In 2023, Americans consumed nearly 12.5 pounds of mozzarella per person. The second most common? Cheddar.
Cheddar cheese, which originated in the village of Cheddar in Somerset, is the most popular cheese in the UK. Our second most popular is actually Red Leicester. That said, Red Leicester is not a common cheese in America. More on that soon. Mozzarella is another favorite in the UK, ranking at number 3. For now, we're going to focus on cheddar.
There are so many cheese styles and brands in both countries. For this, we're focusing on top sellers in both countries. For the US, that's brands like Kraft, Sargento, and Tillamook.
When it comes to cheese brands here in the UK, our best sellers are actually Dairylea and Cathedral City. That said, pretty much every supermarket has their own brand of cheese as well.
Here's some American sliced cheese, starting with this popular brand, Sargento. This is a medium cheddar. It's 11 slice package, and it's 8 ounces or 226 grams. Next to that, we also have a package of Sargento ultra thin sharp cheddar with 18 slices. But as the name suggests, these slices are much thinner. The total weight is less than the regular slices. It's only 6.84 ounces or 194 grams. This is paper thin, right? This cheese, not transparent. Look, you can like read through it. That's really thin. I'm a diehard cheese lover, and never once in my life have I said, gee, I wish this cheese was thinner.
Here is the sliced cheddar cheese option from my local Tesco. A packet of this is only 10 slices, but it weighs 250 grams. If those slices are too small for you, then Cathedral City offers a large slices option. While the slices themselves might be bigger, there are actually only 6 in here, and the whole packet only weighs 150 grams. It might say large on the packet of this one, but you're actually getting less cheese than a regular one. I will say, this one's taller, but does not weigh as much as one of these. It claims that you only would need one of these for a sandwich, but I think that's still small. That's still smaller than most breads that I've seen.
What about blocks of cheese? Tillamook cheddar block down here is 8 ounces or 227 grams. Their mozzarella block is 16 ounces or 454 grams. And for the big cheese lovers, we got this cheddar right here, 2 pounds or 907 grams. I'm making cheddar all day, folks. Hang on, I'm getting a call from my cheddar.
Here are some standard cheese block options from the UK. I'd say the classic block is this one, which is the 400 gram size. If you want more, you can go to the Cathedral City Mega Pack, which is 550 grams. The biggest size in most supermarkets in the UK is this one, which is a 900 gram block. I want to take a closer look at the colour. When it comes to cheddar, the standard colour in the UK is this kind of pale yellow. The cheddar in America actually looks a lot more yellow, almost even orange, almost kind of like a sort of Red Leicester cheese from the UK. While it's very uncommon to dye cheddar in the UK, orangey cheeses like this one do in fact get their colour from annatto, which is a natural food dye. Annatto has been added to cheese since around the 18th century. Cheddar gets its colour from cows grazing on beta-carotene-rich grass in the summer, which produces a more yellow milk. Over time, a more vividly yellow cheese became a mark of quality because it meant the cows were grazing naturally outside. In the winter months, cows would graze indoors on hay and therefore would be getting less beta-carotene and producing whiter milk. So annatto can be added either to give cheese a more uniform look throughout the year, or to maybe give the illusion of a better fed cow.
Some think that the darker color gives the cheese a stronger and richer taste, but for cheddar, color alone does not affect the taste. I have some UK cheddar to compare to the US cheddar. Here is the US. Get a good shot of me cutting the cheese. Wah, wah. Visually, we can already see the difference. Ours is looking a little more orange. Theirs is looking more pale. Let's give it a taste. I mean, the taste of this, it's a mild cheddar, but definitely has a nice flavor, a full-bodied flavor, I'll say. Now this one. This cheese is letting me know what's up. Earthier flavor. Wow, this is really good. It just feels like this isn't fact, that this was something that was processed and made to have this very uniform consistency, where this feels like it's more of a natural product and therefore is a little bit crumblier than this one. Does that make sense?
Each country has its own way of grading the strength or the sharpness of a cheese. Take these cheddar cheeses from Sainsbury's. Each cheese is assigned a number score to indicate how strong the flavour is. The higher the number, the stronger the cheese. As a general rule, cheeses get stronger the longer you leave them to age. A mild cheddar may only have been aged for a couple of months, whereas an extra mature cheddar could go for as long as 2 years. As cheeses age, more and more moisture evaporates from them, which concentrates the flavour. The lactose in the cheese also continues to break down into more and more lactic acid, which produces that tangy sharpness that you get at this end of the scale. The mildest cheddar in the UK generally gets a number 1. There isn't usually a 2 score when it comes to cheddar in the UK. So here we have number 3, which is medium, number 4, which is mature, and then from there we move into the extra mature realms. So we have number 5, extra mature, and then I even found a 6. This one's just referred to as a vintage vintage rather than extra mature.
In the US, we have a scale that goes something like this. For cheddar, for instance, we have mild, medium, sharp, and extra sharp. Sharp cheddar is usually aged 6 to 8 months, and extra sharp cheddar has a minimum age of about 12 to 15 months. The flavor is determined by the aging of the cheese. Now, there is no USDA rule about what age correlates to what level of sharpness, so it is up to the producers to decide what to label their cheese.
Now it's time to try. Starting with the mild. Texture-wise is interesting. Compared to some of the other ones, this one is visibly like almost wetter and a bit more rubbery. Number 3, the medium. The difference is immediately noticeable. In terms of the amount of moisture in there, you are still getting a relatively kind of chewy, almost rubbery feel to it, but the flavor definitely stronger. Next, we're up to 4, which is officially in the mature category. We've now officially jumped from quite a rubbery cheese, I would say, into more crumbly texture. Here's the 5, the extra mature. Similar in texture to the 4, but with much more of that kind of tangy lactic acid flavor that you get from the aged cheese. And then our strongest cheddar today, the number 6. It's got that really nice, quite strong lactic acid kind of tanginess to it. Again, all of these are cheddars, which I would say is a good entry-level cheese. If you wanted to try and kind of develop more of a taste for cheese, great place to start because you have this really clearly laid out scale. You can work your way up it nice and slowly at your own pace.
So starting down here, just the regular mild. I really don't pay attention to the sharpness of the cheese I get unless I specifically want something sharp. So for me, medium and mild are kind of interchangeable. Going up one step, it went from like no flavor to flavor. Then we're going to sharp, right? The sharpness, yes, it's sharper, but doesn't have as much cheese flavor. Here we got extra sharp. I don't think that's much sharper. The aftertaste definitely has a sharper quality to it, but and I want to point out these are all almost exactly the same color, so more proof that the color of cheese does not have any effect on its flavor or its sharpness.
Let's take a closer look at the ingredients. The US and the UK have different rules when it comes to using raw or unpasteurized milk to make cheese.
Any US cheese made with raw milk needs to be aged for at least 60 days. This can lead to cheeses on average tasting milder.
The cheese and cream regulations of 1995 govern the labeling and production of cheese in the UK. If we look at cheddar as an example, the rules dictate that it must contain at least 49% milk fat and a maximum of 39% water.
The US milk fat minimum is 50% and the maximum moisture is 39%, so it's pretty close for both countries. We found that for the most part, US and UK cheddar are similar in ingredients: milk, salt, annatto, and enzyme. But what about this processed American cheese, a Kraft Singles? To be considered processed cheese and not natural, the cheese contains other ingredients like emulsifiers or milk solids. Processed cheese has been a product of consumer concern for years. It can contain preservatives, artificial colors, high sodium and saturated fats, and is considered by many to not be real food.
Here are Dairylea processed cheese slices in the UK. It includes extra ingredients such as emulsifiers to help it melt smoothly and preservatives to extend the shelf life.
Look at this. Look, like I could like roll it over my finger and it doesn't break.
Almost alarmingly glossy. That texture is rubbery. The ingredients can also change depending on which style of cheese you buy. In both countries, shredded or grated cheese contains anticoagulants to prevent it from clumping together in the bag. This Cathedral City shredded cheese, for example, contains potato starch.
In the US, we also have an ingredient called natamycin that acts as a mold inhibitor. It's fairly common in the US and does exist in some cheeses in the UK, like this Manchego. There has been some panic around natamycin. It's on the Whole Foods banned ingredients list, for example. But the FDA and the World Health Organization say natamycin is generally recognized as safe, and the Environmental Working Group, a watchdog group, hasn't identified any concerns with it. You may have noticed that some cheeses are more bendable and smoother, while others are more crumbly and stiff. This has to do with the amount of moisture in the cheese. More moisture means softer cheese. Duh. Check this out. Here we have this creamy cheddar. Nice and moist. Oof, that's a weird thing to say. Let's check out the bendability of this, right? This aged Gouda that I got specifically because it's hard. I mean, bam, right? Didn't stand a chance. Try and go slower. I can't, all right? That's how hard this cheese is.
Which country eats more cheese? The average cheese consumption per person per year in the UK is 12.11 kilograms. That's around 26.7 pounds.
In the US, it's 17.87 kilograms or 39 pounds per person per year.
The general US population may have us beaten, but we do have one impressive individual record. Leah Schutkova, a competitive eater from the UK, holds a Guinness World Record for eating 500 grams of mozzarella in 1 minute and 2.3 seconds.
How hard could it be? Perhaps I misjudged how difficult that was.
Not terrible, not as much as I thought I might have been able to do, but I beat Joe, so that's the main thing. In the past year alone, the price of soft cheese like mozzarella has shot up by 4.6%. The average now sits at around £12 and 2 pence per kilogram. 500 grams of this Galbani mozzarella cost me £5.90.
Cheddar prices in the US have gone up and down in the past 5 years. It started about $5.20 per pound, hitting a high of $6.08 in September of 2022 and landing at $5.70 in January of this year, an increase of 9.62%.
Here in the UK, the price of cheddar has also shot up in recent years. In January 2020, the average price was around £7.11 per kilogram. As of January 2025, that price is now £8.63. That's a 21% increase. The price of cheddar can differ depending on which brand you buy. The kind of mid-range option is typically the supermarket-owned brand. 400 grams of Sainsbury's cheddar cost me £3.20. These days, a lot of supermarkets also have their own budget-friendly brands. At Sainsbury's, that's Stamford Street. The same amount of cheese will cost you just £2.79. If you want to go branded like Cathedral City, it's probably going to cost you more. In this packet, you get 350 grams of cheese, which is slightly less than the other two. Despite that, it's actually more expensive, costing £3.25.
Brand counts a lot when it comes to shopping for cheese in the US. Sargento down here, the medium cheddar, 11 slices or 8 ounces, was $3.99. Now a seemingly more premium brand, the Tillamook cheddar, which is 9 slices, but also 8 ounces, so the same amount of cheese total, was $4.99. It's $1 more. And of course, you got these, Kraft singles. Look how much cheese I got here. Now I know this isn't cheddar like the rest of these, but I do want to point out that this was 16 slices in this package and 12 ounces of cheese total. So 4 more than either of these. That's 50% more cheese, and it was only $4.99. We're filming this in March, where there have been reports of bird flu in dairy cows, which, as of now, has not affected the price of milk.
In 2023, the UK cheese market was valued at £5.06 billion.
One of the ways the US government has kept the prices of cheese consistent is by buying cheese surplus to maintain price stability for dairy farmers, and mostly it goes to food assistance programs. Perhaps you've seen the cheese caves of Missouri as an example of this surplus storage.
The UK has a similar system that focuses on food redistribution organisations and charities to help get surplus cheese to those in need.
It's no surprise our governments are involved in cheese distribution, since in both countries we produce and eat a lot of cheese. In the US, we even have popular snacking cheeses like string cheese and cheese curds. Now the UK does have string cheese, I know that, but I talked with Harry and he said that these were more for children. Yes, Harry?
We do have string cheese here in the UK, but it's generally aimed more at kids. The leading brand for these is Cheese Strings. I love these things. They were a staple of my lunch boxes when I was going to school when I was a kid, and I feel like the same can be said for a lot of Brits.
Here in the US, we're all eating string cheese. The kids, the adults, we're all doing it. Look at this. Yes, yes. What a fun snack.
I was never sure actually what cheese was in a cheese string. I don't think they specify on the packet, it just kind of says it's like a medium hard cheese. Now, if you were a psychopath, you could just bite straight into one of these, but everyone knows that the real fun of cheese strings was peeling little strips out of it. This is how we entertained ourselves before TikTok, kids. It's so chewy, it's so rubbery, but kind of good.
Cheese curds. You make cheese, I guess it looks like this, very curd-like. We do cheese curds, man. Look, Wisconsin cheese curds, man, from the source. And of course, easy cheese. They got the American baby, spray cheese. Are you kidding me? Excellent source of calcium, it says here. Is it now?
Joe, I'm actually going to be honest here. I owe you an apology. When I first saw that canned cheese in America, I was pretty mortified, and I think most people will be too. But then actually going through a supermarket here in the UK, I did find this. This is Primula, which is cheese in a tube. This on its own doesn't sound too horrifying. However, they have varieties of Primula, one of which is cheese and prawns. Never had this before, kind of forgot this existed. I think I had seen like TV ads for Primula in the past, but no, we do in fact have processed liquid cheese, I guess, here in the UK. I will give the classic Primula a go. I don't like that it's got the kind of like toothpaste covering on it. It really does feel like a big toothpaste tube. And it's got a little star, the kind of thing you squeeze it through. It has a star pattern on it. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, like on its own, it doesn't have much of a flavor to it. It is kind of like a Dairylea in terms of like vaguely cheesy. It's like a memory of cheese, kind of trying to like dream about cheese, and you're like, I kind of got the concept, but I'm missing some details. I think I have to try the prawns one, don't I? Oh, God. Apparently this thing is 8% prawn, 52% cheese. Don't know what the other, 40% is? I mean, I'm really against this as a concept, but I will try and keep an open mind. It does taste like a mixture of prawns and a kind of cream cheese. I don't hate it as much as I thought I might have. There's like potential there. I think it's just such a new sensation that my brain can't quite make heads or tails of it. Primula is not the only liquidy cheese that we have in the UK either. I found this seriously spreadable cheese. It's got, it's thick. It's kind of almost like plasticky texture again on the top. It does say you can use it hot or cold. Not really sure what they mean by that. I think maybe as in you can like put it on a sandwich, or you could maybe stir it into a sauce like the packet says. It's kind of got the texture of like a Dairylea spread, but just with much more cheddar flavor. It's not too bad, like a grown-up Dairylea. Beyond cheese strings, we also have some other what I would call snacking cheeses. One that I found that I'm particularly excited about are these Marmite cheddar bites. Real heads know that Marmite and cheese is a god-level combination. The color is interesting. I really like those. I'm definitely getting more Marmite than I'm getting cheese, which I think for me is the correct ratio. And of course, we also have the classic Baby Bell. Baby Bells are a classic. These are another very much like lunchbox staple type of thing. I actually couldn't tell you the last time I ate a Baby Bell in my adult life, which is sad. Because what I really used to like doing is taking one of these, taking all the wax off, and then making like a wax sculpture after I was done eating the cheese. What do you say we give the sculpting a try, Joe?
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. I did all right on this. I think I did all right on this. That was fun.
I'll make a little wax Joe Avella. With 0 distinguishing features, there we have Joe Avella made of Baby Bell wax. I think it's pretty uncanny if you use your imagination a little bit. Just picture like a little grey quiff right up here. In the UK, we produce over 700 varieties of cheese. We take our cheese very seriously. I've picked out a few classic British cheeses and a few less classic but still interesting ones. For instance, we'll start down the end with Stilton. Stilton is a very famous and very delicious blue cheese. Stilton is actually a protected designation of origin cheese. A bit like how champagne can only be made within the Champagne region of France, this can only be made in Derbyshire, Leicestershire or Nottinghamshire. Although funnily enough, the village of Stilton, where the cheese arguably originated from, isn't within the PDO area. If I am being brutally honest, blue cheeses are never my favorites. I will eat them sometimes if they're like on a cheese board and I want to try a few different things, but not one that I would usually opt for just like a sort of casual evening cheese. I have a teeny bit though. It is tasty. I think it's just that idea of eating mold always puts people off, myself included sometimes.
Our fancy cheese shops do carry a lot of British cheeses. Is this Stilton? Oh man, crumbly. Oh, yo, wow. Flavorful.
Next up we have Red Leicester. Red Leicester is actually the second most popular cheese in the UK after cheddar. Generally speaking, slightly more crumbly than cheddar, although again that can depend on how long it's been aged for. I think this is a fairly mild one because it's quite rubbery. It's got that very gentle, quite nutty flavour to it. It's really good.
This is the Red Leicester. Close to cheddar, but has a nuttier flavor to it.
Next up we have a Cheshire cheese. Similar in colour to the Red Leicester, it's got a little bit of that annatto, giving it that kind of signature goldeny orange colour. Compared to a Red Leicester though, this one is a lot harder, a lot more dense, a lot more crumbly as well, and it has a stronger flavour. Texture, it's night and day. Much drier, much more crumbly compared to the comparatively rubbery, kind of chewy Red Leicester. Cheshire, of course, is a county in England. You'll notice that a lot of these are named after where they're from. Here we have Wensleydale. Wensleydale is another very old cheese, also named after the town where it was first produced. Not the crumbliest cheese, it's got a nice like kind of soft rubbery texture. There's definitely like a little bit of that kind of aged funk to it, but it's actually quite like fruity as well, relatively light.
And this one's the Wensleydale. Ah yes, the Lady and the Duke of Wensleydale have arrived, Your Majesty.
One fun fact about Wensleydale is that obviously it's been made for ages, but I don't think it was the most popular cheese. It was just kind of there. And then it got featured in Wallace and Gromit. That was one that sprang to mind for me when I saw the name Wensleydale again. It's one of Wallace's favorite cheeses in the cartoon. Cracking Wensleydale, Gromit, that sort of thing. And basically that ended up doing really good PR for the Wensleydale cheese.
I can see why these cheeses are considered premium cheese. They have a lot of really great flavor to them. This one was a really like delicious blue cheese. I really shouldn't have taken such a big bite, but the bite I did take was enjoyable. It just was a lot. This is definitely a softer, crumblier cheese. I can see like spreading any of these on a cracker. I gotta say, UK, you're doing all right with cheese over there.
One slightly surprising British cheese that I found in the supermarket was brie. We actually are making brie in the UK now. This is a Somerset brie. It looks very similar to the bries that I've had before, which are traditionally French. As you can see, it's a very soft cheese. It has completely melted under the studio lights. Brie is a favorite of mine. It's really good. Weirdly, it has this kind of like Christmassy association in the UK. A lot of like Christmas sandwiches, for example, will have brie and cranberry in them. If I see brie on a cheese board, it's the one I'm going for straight away.
In the US, without a doubt, the great state of Wisconsin produces the most cheese. It has 5,300 dairy farms, more than any other state, and 1.28 million cows. The state alone produces 600 types of cheese. Starting down here, an American cheese that I have is Monterey Jack from Monterey, California. Think of it like a mild and buttery cheese. Sometimes it has spicy peppers and it's called pepper jack. A good sandwich cheese. Combine Monterey Jack with Colby cheese and you get something like this. Colby Jack, this camouflage looking cheese. Combines the creaminess of the Monterey Jack with the flavorfulness of the Colby. Sensational. Last we have a very specific type of cheddar, a Vermont cheddar. It gets its distinct flavor from the regional milk, soil, and water. So it has a sharper and better bite to it. You can really tell a Vermont cheddar. Our American cheese is a specific type of processed cheese product, invented by James Kraft, founder of Kraft Foods. American cheese became the standard cheese for sandwiches, burgers, and grilled cheeses, or toasties, because of its texture, ease of portability, and how it melts. Now, what we know as American cheese failed to take off in the UK because the UK already has its own processed cheese, and assuming an American version of what they already had didn't really seem that appealing.
That's absolutely right. Although we do have some processed cheese, like I say, Dairylea, I guess, processed cheese over here, but just not with that kind of American reputation. If you haven't watched the Lunchables episode we did, go check that out as well. We're gonna make a British processed cheese toastie with the Dairylea, as well as one with red Leicester to compare.
He means grilled cheese. In front of me, I have a grilled cheese with American and grilled cheese with the UK's red Leicester cheese. So first I got the American right here, the classic. Yes. Look at that. Oh! This is classic American cuisine right here. So good. Let's see what the UK's got. This red business. I know with your taste, you know, I was running my mouth for a second there, but it's actually really good. The consistency and even the temperature and mouthfeel and taste of the American is so smooth and creamy. The flavor of this one's very good.
Here we have two beautiful toasties. We have a Dairylea one and we have a red Leicester one. Always got to cut diagonally. They always taste better diagonally. Underwhelming. Underwhelming cheese pull there. Didn't really get one. Say that. That's quite a nice squeeze. Look at that. Oh. And of course, our red Leicester. Why am I so bad at cheese pulls? What have I done wrong? I'm not really getting cheese pulls. I think with this one, a lot of the cheese has escaped to one side of the sandwich. Again, I don't think Dairylea is like a common toasty ingredient for most people. The Dairylea one isn't bad. It's just not a strong cheesy flavor at all. Let's try the red Leicester. I'm gonna bite from a weird angle because most of the cheese is on this end. That's much more like it. The bits that kind of like leaked out and then kind of crisped up a little bit on the hot plate. Really delicious as well. I think I do see some applications of a Dairylea toastie. I think maybe if you used that as like a base layer and then you added some more flavorful cheeses on top, you could get that kind of marriage of the texture and the solidity with a bit more flavor as well.
It's hard to give a full picture of nutrition for all cheeses. If you take a cheese like mozzarella, 1 ounce or 28 gram serving of a full-fat mozzarella cheese contains all this. Now comparing that to, say, a cheddar, the same amount contains all of this. Just about more on every metric.
Our British red Leicester contains the following per ounce.
And if both country cheeses like halloumi and a blue cheese like Stilton can contain a lot of sodium. And then there's this guy from earlier, okay? One serving, 32 grams of this cheese, 420 milligrams of sodium. That's roughly 1 gram of salt. Is cheese addictive? Dairy products like milk and cheese contain casein, a protein that, when digested, releases a compound called casomorphins. These casomorphins can bind to opioid receptors, which can trigger dopamine.
The process, while similar to how an opioid works, is way milder. A casomorphin does not produce any of the dependencies or other symptoms of an addictive drug.
Another great way to stimulate your brain's reward center is to subscribe to Food Insider and give this video a like.